Good morning, good morning. Happy Friday. I hope you're great. Let me just check and make sure that we are live everywhere. But I want to say hi to Instagram first, and then we're going to go to Facebook and see what's going on Facebook. Welcome to this Friday Financial. Living life after divorce. Welcome aboard, man. Let me just check a few things. Let's make sure that we are all live and all good. And Ricardo, Mark, welcome aboard. I just want to make sure that I'm live on my page. We are live. All right. And let's get rocking and rolling. I've got a couple things I want to do, and we'll go from there. All right. As you're coming in, do me a favor. Let me know you're here. Let me know that you can hear me every once in a while. That audio and all that stuff. So just come in. Let me know that you can hear me. Everything's cool. And if you are on Facebook, if you happen to be on Facebook, make sure you're authorizing Restream to use your name. Otherwise, I see you as Facebook user, and I don't want to call you Facebook user. You deserve a bit more respect than that. So, hey, I just want to jump in here. This is a Financial Friday. I wanted to answer some questions, see if anyone had questions. Let me make sure I'm coming through. And then also wanted to talk about the idea of what I call the 5 B's of a millionaire mind. So too often we're trying to figure out, what does it take to be a millionaire? And we're thinking about the numbers, but I'm going to give you the habit. I'm going to give you the process. I'm going to give you some things that hopefully will bring it to life for you as we move forward. So let me just verify one thing here. Boom. All right, so now we're live. Now we're live on Facebook. You should be able to hear me just fine. So here we go. So these Fridays are dedicated to you. They're dedicated to answering your questions. Now, some questions have come in. I've got a couple questions that have come in off of Instagram. Right, so now we're live. Instagram and coming in from Instagram and from Facebook and through DMs. So if you have questions about money, about wealth, about business, about entrepreneurship, let me know. So let me just tell you, I've been gone for the last 4 days. I've had the blessing to be part of a mastermind with some incredible folks, heart-centered entrepreneurs that are making huge differences, names that you would recognize, Tom and Lisa Bilyeu and Brendan Burchard and Jay Shetty and all these, and I've been gifted the opportunity to spend time with them and to work with them and see what we can do together to have a greater impact. And so this conversation kind of came up about what have we gone through. So I'm going to give you a little backstory on what I've recently gone through and why I'm doing what I'm doing before I get into this. And that is that 22 days ago or so, actually 25 days ago, now that I look at the date, 25 days ago, I became a first-time granddad. Granddad of my this little angel named Emily Ray. And what some people don't know is that at the same time that my daughter-in-law and my son were in the hospital having their baby, across the valley, my mom was in the hospital. And we weren't sure if she was going to make it. My mom is 87. Well, she's somewhere between 85 and 87 years old. She hasn't told us really, but let's just call it 86. We'll split the difference. 86 years old, and she's got, kidney issues and that type of thing. So here I was standing in the middle of the valley, in the San Fernando Valley, on one hand, looking at the birth of my grandchild, and on the other hand, the possibility of losing my mom. And so in that one moment, was the whole circle of life, all in one moment. But it allowed me to sit back. Now, Mom is good. She's fine. She's doing well. And she's out and back to her normal honorary self. But it really got me to come back to why we do what we do. And I do talk about money. And I think we need to talk about money. But it's not money for money's sake. It really isn't. It's about creating life. It's about creating something that matters. It's about sharing life with the people that you care about. It's about creating experiences and memories. And as I sat there going from hospital to hospital trying to figure this out, it really hit me hard to understand that no matter where we are in life, it's a precious thing. It's a precious thing, and that we need to honor each and every moment of life. And the reason that we look for financial independence, the reason we look for financial freedom is not for the money, but for the time. It's for us to be able to buy back the time, to buy back the options, to decide that I'm going to just take off, to decide that I'm just going to spend time with those that matter and everything. So that's where I depart from, hey, let's just focus on money. Because this is why we say in the Affluence Blueprint that it's about a richer lifestyle, not a wealthier lifestyle. See, wealth is just a statistic. It's just commas, it's zeros, it's decimals in a bank account. But it's what we do with that wealth. It's what it makes us in that process. It's the impact we can have. It's the causes we can get behind. It's the memories we create, the experiences that we build that really start to build the value of that, the richness of that. And so, for me to be able to look at both sides of the circle of life, with my mom and my granddaughter was an incredible thing to realize. It was an incredible thing to know in the moment. And so as we do this is where we come from. Yeah, we're going to talk about money. Yeah, we're going to talk about wealth. Yeah, we're going to answer questions. I want to do that, but I want to do it because there's a purpose behind it. And the purpose behind it, at the beginning, maybe to pay bills. At the beginning, maybe to find freedom. At the beginning, might be to build wealth. But really, it's to build life. And when we do it from that frame, the difficult times don't feel so difficult because we're on purpose, we're in alignment, we're congruent, and we continue to move through it in the way that we do. So I just wanted to start off with that, with a tremendous amount of gratitude for life. My journey, the cancer journey for the last 2 years, but then in that moment with Mom in one hospital and my daughter-in-law in another hospital, and with the birth and potential death. I mean, it's a hard place to be. But the place we need to be is in the moment, to appreciate the moment, whatever it is, as hard as it is, as phenomenal as it is, to be in the moment, because that's where the richness lives. And when we get to define those moments on an ongoing basis, that's where we find the freedom. So I want to do that as an overlay, and then really start to look at some of this. I want to get to some questions that have come in as we move forward. Some questions that have come in through DMs, Instagram, and that type of thing. If you have questions, money, wealth, business, entrepreneurship, those things, how they coincide, everything from technical to questions and stuff, just post them, send them to me, and I'll bring them on a Financial Friday. We'll have a chance to have a conversation around it. The idea here is this. I want to serve. This is what I believe I've been called to do after the culmination of my journey. And by the way, next week, in a few days, I turn 60. So this is my give back. This is what this next phase, this next chapter of my life is going to be about. So let me answer a couple questions. Then I want to get to the 5 B's of a millionaire mind. These are the things that we need to have in place. And when we look at millionaires, what are they doing to make that happen? And if questions come up, do me a favor, post them. I'll make sure that we hit on them. So the first question comes in. This is a DM that I got from Penny Graham on Instagram. All right. And Penny, I know she's going through a money plan challenge, which is a free 7-day challenge to get your money plan in place. You can go to the moneyplanchallenge.com if you want to jump in and go through the 7-day challenge. So here's the deal. She asked the question. This is a really great question. She says, does it make sense to refinance a home at 2.5%? to take out cash to invest in stock or a rental property? So here's the thing. Talking about interest rates are low right now. We can get what they say is cheap money from an interest rate standpoint. And so since it's cheap money, I could probably invest. If I can get money at 2.5%, but I could make 10%, does it make sense to borrow as much money as possible and invest it? And in some cases it might. I'm not a lover of debt. Now, I'm not a complete hater of debt, but I believe that all of us are going to want to be completely out of debt at some point. There is productive. I talk about in the Affluence Blueprint that there's something called productive debt and destructive debt. Real quickly, productive debt is that debt that will help build cash flow or build net worth. Destructive debt is something that's going to take away from your cash flow or take away from your net worth. So if we're going into debt for lifestyle things because we can't afford it, we're buying a car that maybe we can't afford, that's beyond our means, and we're doing it because we think we can afford the payments, then that's destructive debt. But if we're going into debt potentially to create an asset, to buy a rental property that's going to cash flow and build equity and build appreciation over time, that may be productive debt. Now, all debt has one thing in common. All debt costs. There is a cost to debt. And that first cost is interest. It's what you pay. In this example, Penny is asking about a 2.5% rate. That's interest. But there's another cost that we seldom think about. And there's a cost called what I call debt stress. When you have the burden of debt, it stresses your financial situation. It stresses your personal situation because depending on how much you have in place, if you don't have enough margin for error and you have debt to pay and something happens, you get sick, there's a job loss, or something happens like that, then all of a sudden we find ourselves in a predicament where the stress of the debt buries us. So hopefully that makes sense. Now, let me get to Penny's question. And I don't have enough information. If she was sitting in front of me, one of the questions I'd ask is, and I know I'm not supposed to ask this to women. I know that I'm not supposed to ask this, but from a clinical, institutional advisor perspective, I need to know. And the question is, how old is she? If she's young, so say she's in her 30s, it's a slightly different perspective than if she's in her 60s. Because if I'm going to refinance a home at 2.5%, you're going to refinance it for, say, 15 years. I don't recommend 30 years. I try to go 15, 20 years max. But because the average, the time frame you hold a home usually is 7 years. So we're financing for 30 years and then we're continuing on. It doesn't make sense, and I prefer you to accelerate your equity build. So, but we've got cheap debt. I can get it at 2.5%. Let's get 2.5% on it. If she is at 60 years old and she's putting a 15-year debt instrument on her, and we know that when you start to pay on a loan, the first 5 years or so of the loan is mostly interest. So if she's my age, 60 years old, I go into debt, and up until 65, I'm not really paying the debt down. So I tend to as we get older to not want to go into debt. So that's one part of it. Second thing before I kind of give the full answer is this. If we choose to refinance real estate, now real estate on the long term typically goes up, and prices in real estate have been going through the roof in all areas. And so it's a stable but illiquid asset. It's a more stable but illiquid asset. They will still cycle and go down. It's not as volatile as the stock market. I'm less likely to borrow money on real estate and move it into a stock market where we've been on an 11-year bull market, except for the little hiccup in 2020, and see that if we have a correction in the market, all of a sudden you invested money in the market. Let's say that I borrow $100,000, I put it in the stock market, and now the market does a 30% correction. That $100,000 that I borrowed and put in the stock market is now worth $70,000. That's going to stress me out. That's going to stress you out. It's going to stress anyone out. I just lost 30%. Now, again, it goes back to age. If I'm 30 years old, that's going to return, and it's going to continue to go and recover. But if I don't have the time, if I don't have the runway to stay in the game, that's why I wouldn't necessarily do it. So the most likely answer here is, if I'm going to try a strategy like this, would be to move it back into real estate. But so borrowing money to go into another property. Now she says a rental property. So this isn't buying a vacation home, because a vacation home is a it's an asset, but it's not a cash flowing asset. So in my book and the way we look at things in the Affluence Blueprint, it's not a investable asset. It is an asset, but it's a drain, just like the residence. I live in a wonderful home. It's an expensive home. It's more expensive today than it was when we bought it, but it is not an asset by the definition of how we do things, because it doesn't earn me anything. It's a place to live, and I need a place to live. Totally fine. But I can't count it as something that's going to generate cash flow. So hopefully that makes sense. But if I were to do it, I would make sure that I'm going to borrow and I'm going to buy right. Real estate the money in real estate is made on the buy side, not the sell side. The problem in today's market is that too often we think that the market's getting away from us because prices are going up, and all of a sudden we decide that we're going to chase a deal. So if I was going to do it, I would look for the deal. I would negotiate hard on the buy side of the deal, make sure that I stress the numbers out to make sure that they work. What happens if I have vacancies? What happens if I can't rent it for a period of time? What's the deferred maintenance on the house? Make sure that I know everything going into that house and consider contingencies, and make sure that it actually cash flows and makes sense before I go and bury myself in debt to buy an asset that may bury me further. So hopefully that helps, Penny. And go from there. Any questions, just let me know, and we'll keep on going. I got one more question that I want to answer, and then we'll jump into the 5 B's of a Millionaire Mind. And this question came in anonymously, and they said they're trying to move. Does it make sense for them to move their 401k? It's a traditional 401k at their former employer. In other words, they left the employment of a company, and at that company they had a 401k, and they left their 401k there. Should they move the 401k? That's the first question. Second, where should they move it to, and should they think about converting it to a Roth? So there's a whole lot going on in this question. Let's just talk about this idea of leaving a 401k with a previous employer. The general advice that I give my clients is not to leave your 401k with a previous employer. One, because of the fact you're detached from the employer. You don't know what's going on in the business. You don't know what's happening in the business. Two, a lot of times you might look at it and say, I don't have a lot of investment options in my employer's plan, and I'm locked with those investment options. 3, there may be a high cost to the prior employer's plan. And so I want to make sure that I reduce costs. And so those are the reasons I typically move it. When would I leave it there? I would leave it there if the prior employer's plan is absolutely golden, that you've got great investment options, it's been performing well, and you have low fees. Okay? Then what you need to do is make sure you're tracking it on a regular basis. So if things shift, things change, roll it out. All right, so then goes to the second part of the question. Do you roll it out to a Roth? In other words, you take it out and roll it into Roth, pay the tax. Now, the difference between our traditional 401k, our traditional IRA or 401k, and a Roth is this, is that the Roth, you pay tax on it up front, and you don't pay taxes on it when you take it out, on the earnings and everything. The traditional, you take a tax deduction. You don't, in other words, you save taxes today, you pay taxes tomorrow. Okay? If I was, and I don't know your personal, whoever sent this question, I don't know your specific circumstances, but here's the general thing. If you roll your traditional 401k out to a Roth 401k, it's a taxable event. You're going to have to pay tax on all of that income going into a Roth. Second, okay, if we're going to look at it that way, then what I would do is look at the tax rates. What is the tax? You need to do some analysis. And remember, I don't have to roll it all out today. I could roll it out in chunks. But if I'm at a lower tax, at a higher tax bracket today, say 30% and above, then I might look at it and say, do I want to do a Roth? But I'm going to pay 30 cents on the dollar to do it. You're going to do a direct rollover. You're going to open up the account. It's going to roll from one to the next. You're not going to touch the money, so you don't have to get hit with penalties. So you can do a rollover, you can do a conversion, but you'll have to pay the tax on it now. Again, I hate going back to age, but it also depends on age. If this is you're going to roll it into a Roth IRA, you need to have 5 years before you're going to draw that money out. Okay, so there's some nuances there, but the first thing that I would do is to look at what's the 401k at the old employer. Do I have good investment options? Are they performing well? And what's the expense structure? If the answer to those questions are they have good investment options, it's performing well, and it's a low expense structure, I might leave it. If not, I'm going to look for somewhere else to put it. All right. So hopefully that helps. All right. So let's just talk about this whole idea of the millionaire mindset, at least the way I see it. And this actually comes from me working with folks in the Affluence Blueprint, working with people that are just starting out. And what does it take? We can talk about all the tactical stuff to do with the money. We can talk about, savings rates. We can talk about investments. We can talk about index funds and ETFs, and we will. But there's some things that we need to do before that. There's some things that if we can't shift them in our thinking, in our habits, in our behavior, that it doesn't matter what the tactics are. We're gonna have problems. We're gonna have challenges. And so here's the thing. There's 5 things, that 5 builds, if you will. I call the B's of a millionaire mind, but we have to build 5 things before we get into the tactical stuff. And the first is this. Number 1 is that you need to build a financial plan. Okay? You need to build a financial plan that's based on your lifestyle vision. Okay? Too often we create a financial plan based on mathematics. But if those mathematics don't support the vision for your life, then what are we doing? So what I want to do is build a financial plan that takes into consideration the kind of life that you want. So I'm going to take the time to look at your life and say, I want to travel this much. I want to do these things. And we're going to estimate because, look, 20 years from now, do I really know what the costs are? No. But it's better than just not doing it at all. And so our financial plan, or those that I work with in the Affluence Blueprint, we talk through it. We build it. We reverse engineer our financial plan based upon the lifestyle vision we have. So the first thing you need to do is build a plan. If you want help with building a plan, we have a 7-day free money plan challenge that you can join. Just go to themoneyplanchallenge.com, and we're going to walk you through different elements, 7 really easy lessons and tactics that will set and give you the foundation. The bottom line is this: if you want to shift your financial destiny, it's important to have an unshakable foundation, and that's what we're going to do there. So, number 1 is to build a plan. Number 2 is to build your knowledge. Build your knowledge. I get it. None of us came out of the womb going, I know everything about money, investing, and wealth, and all that. And in fact, it got worse. Not only did we not get taught it, we got talked down about it. In other words, the media demonized being wealthy. The social media can do it. The imposter syndrome, I'm not good at it. All of that stuff started to hit us, and we started to pull back, and money's a taboo subject. We should never even talk about money, they think. But wait a second. If we want to solve money problems just like any other problems, if I have a medical problem, if I have a relationship problem, they're solved by talking about them first. Same with money. So here's what I'm going to invite you to do. If you look at those that are wealthy, and 78% of millionaires are first generation millionaires. They're not inheriting it. They're not winning the lotto. They're not doing that. They actually created it themselves. So whether you're a millionaire today or not, here's the good news. You can actually create it in this first generation. You can be the starter. You can be the one that shifts it. I came from a white collar family. My dad was an engineer. He was a wage earner for all his life. He worked. He carpooled an hour and a half each way to work. But I learned by studying. So listen to shows, listen to podcasts and blogs. Go to, make sure you're subscribed to the Affluent Entrepreneur Show. We're going to be doing a lot of this. I'm bringing interviewers on, and I'm giving you tools and tactics and strategies, and there's plenty of other shows out there. Get a book. Get books on money management and wealth and personal finance. Start to learn. It doesn't need to be complex, but if one thing that we do know is that if we don't build our knowledge, we can't build our skills. And so the first step is to make sure you have a plan with a vision. The second step is to get the knowledge, because once we know what the plan and the vision is, you go, but I don't know certain things. So now you sit back and say, all right, what do I need to learn to make that plan and vision come into place? Now we go acquire the knowledge. Get involved in programs. Get involved with groups. Get involved with listening to podcasts, audiobooks, reading, those kinds of things. I'll read at least an hour a day, or listen an hour a day, usually early in the morning before my wife gets up. That's my processing time. It's my creative time. All right. So build a plan, build knowledge. The third build is to build your habits. Money and wealth building no one has very few people have money issues. They have behavior issues. Where we are in our financial world today is a result of the choices, the habits, and the decisions and the behaviors that we've had in the past. And I know sometimes that's hard to swallow, because that forces us to take responsibility for where we are. But let's look at it. In 2005, 2004, I got involved in it. I got involved in an investment that turned out to be a Ponzi scheme. In 2005, I realized it was a Ponzi scheme. I got wiped out 1/3 of everything I owned, 7 figures. Me and 2 buddies, we lost $4.5 million. Okay? I made the decision. It's not his fault. Yeah, the guy's a thief. The guy's a parasite. But that doesn't take away from my responsibility that I had that got me into it, kept me into it, and kept me investing in it. And I need to take that responsibility. And so the question is, what habits do you need to have to make that happen? That might be that you got to look at your spending. You got to look at your investing. You got to look at, do you balance your checkbook? I remember years and years and years ago when I turned around and was doing tax returns way back when I first started out, and I was going to do a tax return, and I'm sitting, I was an accountant that made house calls. So when I was sitting there in the house and saying, how much money did you make? And she says, hold on a second. And she walks away and runs into the back of the apartment and then comes back. And she sits down and she says, I think I made about $27,000. I said, all right. So I write it down and I go, I'm curious. Why did you go to the back of the apartment to figure out how much you made? And she goes, oh, I looked at my closet to see how much clothes I bought. And that's how I estimated I made. I'm like going, oh, no. I said, do you balance your checkbook? Do you, she goes, no, I don't really track anything. See, that's what I'm talking about as far as habits. Okay? That's what I'm talking about as far as habits. What are the habits you have with your money? Are we ignoring it? See, you've heard me probably talk about this before, is that you have a relationship with money. You have a relationship with wealth. You have a relationship with affluence. And if you want a meaningful, fruitful relationship, you need to treat it as a relationship. There's no relationship that will flourish if we ignore it. There's no relationship that will grow if we ignore it. And just like my relationship with my beautiful wife, Stephanie, if I take a passive approach, if I ignore her, our marriage is going to die. And it's not because of the lack of love. It's because of the lack of attention. It's because of the lack of creating a deeper and deeper relationship every time. So the question you got to look at, and sometimes these are hard to answer, but hopefully you see that the more I can create positive and relationship building habits with my money, with the wealth, with my purpose, with my vision, the better I'll be. Because what are we doing? We're building the financial muscle just like going to the gym. So we're slowly building the financial muscle. And if that means that, hey, this week all I'm going to be able to do is save $5 this week. Do you know what? Good on you. Because that's $5 you didn't save last week. And next week we'll get it to 10, and then 20, and then 40. But that's how it starts. Just like when you first start working out, we start building with light weights before we get to the heavy weights. We build the muscle by building the habit. So you build your plan, build your knowledge, build your habits. And these are the things that I see that are common in all millionaires, all affluent people. Number four, hopefully this is making sense to you. Let me know. Number 4 is build resilience. Okay, build resilience. And you go, what does that mean? That means two things. Don't get distracted. And don't allow your emotions to get a hold of you. In other words, you might see I don't know, Tesla comes out with a new vehicle and you go, oh, that's cool. And that takes you off your path. I want you to have resilience connected to a purpose. You see the brand new shiny thing. Or me, on Instagram, oh my God, the ads on Instagram. I'm getting ads. I can't tell you how many times I bought things on Instagram. And so what we need to do is have the discipline and the resilience to sustain ourselves through the process of life. The distractions of desires, the distractions of the comparison, the distractions of the people on social media that are parading their picture perfect life, which we don't know what it is really like. They're just putting their best foot forward, their best picture forward. They're creating a facade in our faces that are creating an envy and a jealousy that's starting to pull us, but we stay true to our purpose. So we need to have the discipline and the resilience to know that we're going to continue in the process even if we're ridiculed, even if someone says, I wouldn't do that. But knowing that you're on a path, knowing that you're on the path to affluence, knowing that you're doing that is what's going to keep you going. There's so many times that people will look at some of the things that I've done in the past and say, live for the day. Not if it scars my tomorrow. Okay? I'm not going to live today just to scar my tomorrow. Now, trust me, I enjoy the journey. I make sure that I allocate it and enjoy today, but I don't forsake my future. I don't rob my future. I don't rob my children's future. I don't rob my wife's future. I don't rob my grandchild's future. Just because I want to have possessions or look good. He said it's more important. There's too often we want to look wealthy instead of being wealthy. And I'd rather you be wealthy and not even worry about looking wealthy. Okay? So that's number 4. So build your plan, build your knowledge, build your habits, build your resilience. And number 5, and this is the thing that drives and brings everything together. Build a life. Build a life. Think about that. This isn't about collecting money. Who cares? Who cares if I have a ton of money in the bank account? Who cares? What, am I going to parade it around? Am I going to sleep with it? I'm going to die with it? What? It doesn't matter. What really matters is the life that we get to build with it. The missions we can get behind, the movements we can move forward, the experiences we can create. You know, I had a dear friend this week. He brought 20 of some of the top entrepreneurs and online entrepreneurs together. 20 of us together to mastermind for a week. To think about how we can do things bigger. Not just for our business, but for the impact of society, to serve at a greater level. How we can do things better. And you know what? He didn't ask for a dime from any of us. He paid for all of it. And it's because he had the ability and he had this vision for his life. And part of the vision for his life is to give back and to have the ripple effect of giving back. And we had these beautiful souls that came together to do some things. And there's going to be some great things. Stay with me. You're going to hear some great things from some great people. But it's that we need to do. It's that we need to think about. So my question is that if we go full circle, you build a plan based upon the life you want to build. You build your knowledge based on the life you want to build. You build your habits based on the life you want to build. You build your resilience and don't stray based on the life you want to build. And in the end, you build the life you want to build. That's what millionaires do. That's what the 5 B's of a millionaire mind is. See, we can get the tactics. I can tell you to invest in all kinds of things, which I won't do here because I don't know your situation. You can be in cryptos, you can be in real estate, you can be in Airbnbs, you could be in oil and gas. It doesn't matter. But if we don't get these 5 things right, no amount of money in the world will make you feel rich. No amount of money in the world will make you feel rich. So I thought that this was an important thing for us to talk about. And I just, on this Financial Friday, I wanted to just kind of bring this home and hope that I can send you off into the weekend to think about this, to look at your life and say, what do I need to do? What are the five things in your mindset to build? And it doesn't matter where you are. It doesn't matter whether you have a dime, $1, $100, $1 million. Go through the 5. Do I have a plan? Am I building my knowledge? Am I creating good money habits? Do I have the resilience to sustain myself through the challenging times? Am I doing it for the life that I want? All right. All right, y'all. You guys rock. Do me a favor. If you have questions, if you have something else that comes up, do me a favor. Send me the questions. We're going to be doing these more regularly. And the more questions I have, the more I can get in here and help and serve and all that. If you haven't done so already, follow me. Subscribe. follow the show, the Affluent Entrepreneur Show, and let other people know that we're having these conversations, real conversations about money, real conversations about life, wealth, and real conversations about life together. And that they have a safe place to go to have these conversations so we can grow and grow together. Let's keep rocking and rolling. All right. I appreciate you all. I'm grateful for you all. You bring the richness to me. You bring the richness to my life. And this is where I find joy. This is where I find meaning. And I appreciate you all to do this. Okay. Heather, this is a great question. In fact, hang tight. She asked the question, how can we encourage youth to follow your recommendations? I'm actually going to do a whole episode on working with our youth and some of the things that I did with my son, who's now 31 years old and pretty much financially independent at 31 years old. He's got a multi-million-dollar net worth, him and his wife already. And so we're gonna do that, and I'm also gonna do an episode. Someone asked me to do an episode since I'm a brand new granddad. What would I do? What should I do for my grandchild? So I'm going to do a couple of episodes, Heather, and if you have some specific questions, shoot them my way, and let's bring them on, okay? And let's do this. And so I'll make sure that we get on that. But really, the biggest thing is for our youth to understand that money is a tool to give them the life that they want. And it's not about possessions. It's about purpose. Money is a result. It's not a purpose. Oh my gosh, I love this, Heather. Heather, do me a favor, DM me, let's chat. She says, we coach youth that age out of the foster care system, so would love pointers. Send me a note, and let's see if we can chat and see what we can do, because I've got some dear friends that have survived the foster care system. I've had people that have been affected by the foster care system, and I think if we can support our youth, if we can, when we are successful at equipping our youth, we will solve the financial discord in our world. The divide, the wealth divide, all of that will be solved, and it can be solved simply. Oh, Heather, you've got me going. It can be solved easily. It can be solved simply. There may be work involved, but I don't care where we start, with age or stage. If we give the principles, if we can give them the prescription to follow, and they do it with discipline, they can find the path to freedom, because it is a birthright, no matter where we're born. All right. Blessings to y'all. I've got a call that I got to jump on in 60 seconds. But send me your questions, send me your notes, and let's keep rocking. And let's make a difference. You guys have a blessed weekend, and I look forward to chatting again soon. Cheers.